Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing today?
I am doing great. Eric, how are you on this wonderful April day?
Doing fantastic. April is coming in with some nice spring weather. People are starting to go out. It's really a change from where we were a year ago.
Oh, it sure was. Last year on Easter, we had two Zooms with different families, and everybody was down in the dumps about what was going on. And yesterday we had hugs, family, grandchild. Doesn't get any better than that. So obviously it's been a tough road, but we're on the road back, and that's what it's all about.
That's it. And, speaking of the road back, I think that gives a good segue to our guest. We have with us today Chris Veilleux of the Newington Veterans Coffee House, where Chris is helping veterans get find their way back. So Chris, welcome.
Well, thank you, Eric and Chip. Glad to be here.
So, Chris, tell us a little bit about what you do at the coffee house and how you got started.
I got started, it could be about 2 years ago. My pastor had approached me to kind of throw some veteran ideas and stuff like that together to see if we could do something in the community for veterans. And so from there, there's another coffee house up in Danielson, so I kind of just followed what they were doing. So yeah, we were doing it at the church. Maybe it was once every second and fourth Wednesday of the month from 9 to 2. But then when COVID hit, of course, everything got shut down. So August last year, I did a PPE drive to give away free supplies to veterans. The American Legion said that they would be willing to, open up their doors and I could do it there. So while that was going on, a lot of the veterans that had been coming to the coffee house said how much they missed it. So I said openly, well, we don't have a place to do it right now because there's no food or anything allowed at the churches and stuff like that right now. And so the Legion actually offered their place to hold it. So I did that, and I was doing the two, every second and third Wednesday. And then I was reading an article about the increase in veteran suicide and suicide in the military as well. And I'm like, well, everything's shut down. Nobody, all the older veterans really don't feel like being on a telephone for 20, 30 minutes with their doctor. And they can't get any mental health resources right now. So I said, well, maybe I'll just open it up for more hours and every week so they can have a safe place. And we've been following restaurant protocols from the start, and sanitizing and everything. And then somebody had asked about a night coffee house because a lot of the veterans in the area work. So that's when I, beginning in March, started the Friday night one for the same reasons.
So this is really a gathering place for veterans where they can just have support, communicate with each other, and unisolate, especially during COVID.
Right, definitely, that's what it is. And as restrictions lift and stuff like that, I'm going to be bringing in guest speakers. Like businesses in the area, like chiropractic. What can chiropractic do for you, and stuff like that? My chiropractor loves veterans, so he is very adamant about helping them out as much as possible. Also, insurance benefits. You want to buy a house, so on and so forth. Getting them educated on the things that they don't know about, things that they want to learn about, and also eventually PTSD. The families can come in and learn about PTSD and what triggers to look for, what signs you're looking for, because a lot of the younger generation now, their families don't really know.
Yeah, so what motivated you to get started with this project?
Basically, I've always had since 2008, I kind of relit my purpose with veterans. I had ignored even being a veteran since I had gotten out in '92, so it was that long. And just getting into the VA system, I had to cross a lot of, try to get the red tape out of my way, because they always, we'll call this number, talk to this person, or go to this website. And I'm like, okay, I did it, but most veterans won't. So I'm trying to provide a safe place that instead of them chasing the services come see them face to face.
Fantastic. What age groups are you serving? Do you see, I know from some folks I've spoken to that you have a number of Vietnam vets that come to the coffee house. I assume you have younger as well, but what ranges are you seeing?
Well, right now, for the day coffee house, it's been like Desert Storm on up, or down. Sorry, back to Vietnam. Sorry, going backwards. But on the Fridays, we're now starting to see. There was a gentleman there a couple weeks ago. He's in his mid-30s. The gentleman that was here Friday, I can place him in his mid to late 20s. So, I'm not looking for a particular era because each era can help others out. So, but yes, starting to see a increase in a younger crowd is really nice.
Yeah, especially since if you can get that younger crowd in and get them the support that they need before it really becomes critical.
Right.
I mean, my father was a Vietnam veteran, and obviously, we've all heard the stories of when the vets came home from Nam. They didn't have support. They didn't have people looking out for them. And it's so important, that they do. The veterans go through so much, even in peacetime, that, and quite frankly, we haven't seen peacetime in a long time for our veterans.
Right. This is true. Yeah. Definitely, younger people coming in and older people able to identify certain traits and practices that they can see in them and identify them, because a newer veteran might not necessarily notice it themselves. About the way they sit at a table, the way they're looking around the room, what's going on, and we kind of go over. See, that's kind of what PTSD is. This is what we're talking about, so that they can actually get into the system at a younger age and deal with it as soon as they can.
Yeah, I'm wondering, are you reaching out at all to like Veterans of Foreign War and other organizations that are out there to kind of collaborate with them? Because obviously, the word needs to get out as far as things that are going on, and also the word needs to get out as far as the problems that you're going through. I mean, I've been fortunate enough, didn't do it this last year because of COVID, but I connected with the Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for Veterans, which is run by UConn for 2 weeks every summer in Hartford, where veterans actually form their own businesses, and they go through a 2-week boot camp to get them going with all kinds of things. And what I do is I kick it off with a networking segment. But I mean, there's a lot of resources out there, and I think that if the more aware the public is that these things are going on, one of the head ups there runs the New England Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and I think the more that people collaborate together to get people there and get the word out, the better off we're going to be with this. So it's just amazing. Thank you so much for what you're doing out there, and whatever we can do to help you get the word out, that's what we're here for.
Oh, sure. No problem.
So you said earlier that veterans were asking for this to come back through COVID. Have the veterans that have been there expressed or shown any specific difficulties dealing with the COVID situation that maybe the general public isn't aware of?
Pretty much it's just, the wait times and stuff like that, which are, starting to drop, because most in the area are already at their second shot, so that I think they've actually opened it up to spouses and dependents now to get the shot out to. But as for them and their difficulties, I know a couple of gentlemen that actually the only time they go out to socialize is when the coffee house is open. They don't feel a need to go anywhere else. And that's unsafe. They know it's clean, it's safe, stuff like that. So.
And that's so important that you're providing a safe, comfortable environment for them where, they may not feel at ease going to, say, a Starbucks or something like that. This is something that's meant for them.
Yes. And even like the readjustment centers, just because they have so many veterans to deal with that, they can't kind of support large groups in there because they're trying to also service newer people coming in. So it's like they're on a structure. Like you can only be here for 2 hours. You can't talk about this, and this. You have to have somebody in charge watching your group from their employees and stuff like that. And, they just love the fact that they can kind of come when they want to, and they can leave whenever they want to, and not be forced out. So that's one of the pluses that we have down there.
Yeah, that's so important. And how does the coffee house get its funding?
Right when I first started it up, there was actually just a few people that had given me private donations and stuff like that. I think the GFWC and Pat Mahoney were the first ones to give us a Walmart gift card to do that, and it's slowly working into event sponsorships like a Friday night. We've had from Teresa McCall over at Neptune Crematory. She did a pizza night, but Neptune Crematory is actually, since my third meeting, has been providing all the breakfasts for the coffee house until this last month or so when Geico had stepped in, and now they're supplying financially for that event, stuff like that. So the money donations coming in, people will just come by and drop off box goods, non-perishable items and stuff like that to get handed back out to the veterans. And then so Teresa, Eric Paul Muska from Edward Jones, they did last Friday night. Then I've had I cooked the dinner myself for the veterans, and then there was a nice lady in town. She cooks for a lot. She donated her food for one event. So that's how it's been coming in.
So it really is a community-supported group.
Yes. Yep. And our volunteers that come in, I feel that part of the volunteering is sitting down with the veterans and talking to them, stuff like that. Picking their brains. But they have a lot to say. They have a lot of living experience, put it that way, to hand out.
That's for sure. These folks have seen more things than most of us have dreamt about.
This is true. And they can tell you the fact from fiction from Halo or Call of Duty or a movie from the real thing.
Yeah. I remember over the years I've interviewed a lot of Vietnam vets, and one of the quotes that really always sticks out in my mind is that one Marine told me that the question he got most often was, what was it like to walk point? And he said, the best way to describe it is go to the highest cliff you can find and then jump off. Halfway down, you'll know what it felt like to walk point.
Yeah, exactly. My stepfather walked point. He also did tunnel rat duty. So yeah, there's people ask questions they really don't want to know the answer to.
There's a lot of that, and there's also, again, my father served in Vietnam. I know a lot of people in the same situation as me, and our parents never talked about it because primarily, as I've come to understand, they didn't want to expose us to it. But it does bring up, there's a whole generation of children that have this curiosity about what their parents did while they were over there.
Yep. And Tiffany got a whole bunch of that information the second time she came over to the coffee house, because they gave her information about her father, where he could have been stationed, and they're willing to help out. The next Wednesday, one of the gentlemen had done some research, gave me several sites that she could go to just to look up the boat. And if you find the boat, you'll find the people who were stationed on board. So, but yeah, they were very nice. Answered all her questions best they could and stuff like that. But yeah, so yes, it's Vietnam was a very unique situation in the fact that the treatment they received coming home was what it was, unfortunately. And so they pretty much shut themselves down. A lot of them went to the woods to live.
Yes, they did. But it's good to hear that the folks that are coming are willing to share their experiences, share that information, because I think it's things that people really do need to understand. What these folks went through. It's not something that's in everybody's day-to-day experience. It is so out of the norm that most people really don't understand it.
Right. They think a phrase like, "Oh, just get over it," or "It's in your head." Oh. Yeah. More than in your head. It's more than in your head. Yes, it's in your head, but you can try dealing with it.
Yes, I mean, technically PTSD is in your head, but, it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And we have so many veterans that are suffering from that, and some don't even realize it. They haven't recognized the symptoms.
Right. A lot of families, and I'm saying there are families out there who don't want to recognize it. My stepfather's family was one of those, because he ended up with epilepsy after he came back, and so they just said, "Oh, he's the sick boy. He's the sick boy." So, but he's getting care now and stuff like that. So, and like a lot of it, a lot of them spent 40 years without doing anything about it, and then finally, somebody finally got the right word in their ear or the right commercial, and they started seeking treatment. And that's when you find out a whole lot about PTSD and why you do strange things that you don't know why you're doing them.
Yeah, to prepare for this, I actually looked up an article that came out last year right before you were reopening, and I do know Reverend Wiltshire, and obviously a big part of this is reaching out and being able to talk to people about it, and I'm sure that Reverend Wiltshire has helped you out a lot on your way here. So tell me a little bit about your experiences with him, because he's a wonderful man.
Oh, Pastor Jim is absolutely incredible. I first met him in 2006, where he was an associate pastor at another church in Manchester. We spent a lot of time together talking and stuff like that. And we were actually, some of us, there was a group of 4 of us that would go out every Saturday and go out into the homeless camps and run across a veteran here or there. And their stories, Vietnam veterans especially, their stories about how the VA treated them, which I absolutely know it's true. because they did it to so many. But they wanted nothing to do with any government program or anybody trying to, say, help them out. They still worked. They just were tired of the system. And but so we got back together when he opened up the chapel in Newington a few years ago. And so he's very supportive of the coffee house. He'll guide me if I need any help to make a decision. He's also my marketing guy who does all my slides and stuff like that. So he's very supportful. It's not just our bodies and our minds, but if somebody needs some spiritual counseling or spiritual insight or something like that, we're there to help out in that capacity as well.
Yeah, it really is fantastic that the veterans have a place to go. And I've spoken to so many veterans over the years, and it's always struck me that they're willing to talk for the most part, but they need a place that's comfortable for them. They don't want to be put on the spot. A lot of them don't want to deal with the government systems anymore. And it's great that you can provide this comfortable zone for them where they can just, be.
Right. Yeah. One of the more common statements are the fact that people feel there's no judging. Because you go into different programs or different things, and you already got people looking at you like, you got your head screwed on backwards and your pants are on backwards too. So that's been one of the things that, without doing it purposely, it's happening. So.
Yeah, and again, it is so important. I mean, the younger veterans, I think, have had it a little easier in terms of the support they're getting, when they return home. But it's good that you've got, the multi-generational, groups coming in, and they can share those experiences and really help each other. Because let's face it, nobody knows what they're going through better than they do.
Correct. That's another thing. They're tired of counselors who've never done a thing for combat, even served in the military, telling them what's going on with their heads. They're like, really? You're gonna try to educate me on this?
Yeah, that's something that's always confused me, is how are people who don't have that frame of reference supposed to provide help? And for so many of us, I mean, again, my father, served in Vietnam. He passed away due to his exposure to Agent Orange. And I didn't learn about what he went through until after he was gone. And one of the greatest things I have ever been told was by a group of Vietnam veterans who, were helping me learn about this. And they said, you know what, you are one of us. And having that support, even as, the next generation, was so important. And, it's so great that they can do that for each other, and you're providing this place for it.
Right. Yeah. I've been to. There's a PTSD clinic right over in Northampton, Massachusetts. They call it Ward 8. It's one of the first ones in the nation. So it's been going on for about 30 years, and a couple of their doctors have been 30 years now. They might not have had equal experiences with the veterans at that point in time, but now they've helped treat so many veterans and stuff like that. They actually, pretty much what they do is they say, we don't make this program a success. It's the actual veterans themselves, because more healing, more information comes from the conversations with each other in groups than could ever, throw out throw out a book at them or something like that.
Yeah, what goes on in combat is not something you can learn from a book.
Right. Yep. So, but they have fine-tuned, as they go on. They're not using the same material they did 30 years ago. Now it's, they fine-tune it so that it's, okay, we're giving you information, and which is most of the day classes, they just give you information. And if somebody wants to talk about the information that's going on and stuff like that, they'll do that. They'll do some exercises to kind of show you, what's going on in your mind, whether you're thinking about it or not. And then, of course, then they give you other tools like meditation and eye rest and just watching certain levels, how to be involved, but know when to take that 5-minute break you need, and then not be around that extra 5 minutes and you blow up.
That's fantastic. We're coming to the end of our time. So for our listeners who would like, if there's veterans that would like to attend the coffee house or members of the community that would like to get involved, how can they do so?
Well, they can either go to our Facebook page at Newington Veterans Coffee House, or you can reach me at newingtonvet@gmail.com, or you can call 860-540-6549. And the address, if you just want to stop by, it's the American Legion Post 117 in Newington, which is 294 Willard Avenue in Newington, Connecticut, right down the street from the hospital.
And what are the hours? What are the hours that it's open now?
Wednesdays, every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then Fridays from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Great. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. What you're doing is so important, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it, and I'm sure the veterans appreciate it too.
Yes, thank you very much. They do.
Yeah.
I appreciate them too. So,
yeah.
All right,
Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway for this week?
Well, I mean, I've not been through this like the two of you have been through this, but all I can say is thank you. I mean, I was a year too young to get into the draft for Vietnam, but I've seen so many people since then. My father-in-law was a World War II vet, and I had a couple of uncles that were over there too. But, God bless you for what you're doing, whatever we can do to help awareness-wise to get the word out, because it talked about in the article that your first and foremost mission is camaraderie among the veterans, and that's where it starts. But we all need to know about this so much. So thank you so much.
So I think the big takeaway for me for this episode is, we do need to be there for people. You may not understand what they're going through, but you can still be there to support them, and just give them that support and let them, help them discover what it is they need. Because again, even though you may not understand what they've gone through, it doesn't mean you can't be sympathetic and empathetic to them. So I hope everybody takes that lesson. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcasts. You can also find us on the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.